Good morning everyone. I am presenting subject seminar on the topic male urogenital cancers recent update. Urogenital cancers comprises tumors of kidney, urinary bladder, testes, prostate and penis. First let's see about kidney tumors. There has been a rapid expansion in the number of newly recognized kidney tumors. These entities are increasingly characterized by specific molecular features, recognizable specific morphologies, corresponding IHCs, and clinical outcomes. Going back to history, basis of nomenclature for histological classification, AFIP Atlas of Tumor Pathology, second series on tumors of kidney, renal pelvis and ureter, 1975, histological diversity of renal cell carcinoma was acknowledged with a statement, renal adenocarcinoma has many faces, which included clear cell carcinoma and granular cell carcinoma. Then came ISUP Vancouver modification of WHO 2004 histological classification of kidney tumors, which included renal cell tumors, that is papillary adenoma, oncocytoma, clear cell renal cell carcinoma, multilocular cystic, clear cell renal cell neoplasm of low malignant potential. Papillary renal cell carcinoma, chromophobe renal cell carcinoma, which included hybrid oncocytic chromophobe tumor, carcinoma of collecting duct of Bellini, renal medullary carcinoma, MIT family translocation renal cell carcinoma, carcinoma associated with neuroblastoma. Then came WHO 2016 classification, which proposed new renal epithelial tumors and emerging or provisional tumor entities. New epithelial tumors included were tubulocystic renal cell carcinoma, acquired cystic disease associated renal cell carcinoma, clear cell papillary renal cell carcinoma, MIT family translocation renal cell carcinoma, hereditary leiomyomatosis, renal cell carcinoma syndrome associated renal cell carcinoma. Emerging or provisional entities included thyroid-like follicular renal cell carcinoma, succinic dehydrogenase B deficiency associated renal cell carcinoma, and ALK translocation renal cell carcinoma. Then came Genitourinary Pathology Society update. They proposed three categories: novel entity, emerging, and provisional entity. Novel entity validated by multiple independent studies. Emerging entity, good compelling data available from at least two or more independent studies, but additional validation is needed. And provisional entity, that is, limited data is available from one or two studies with more work required to validate them. Entities post WHO 2016. These included fumarate dehydratase deficient renal cell carcinoma. They show aggressive behavior, germline or somatic mutation in fumarate hydratase. 2-SC and fumarate hydratase IHC are useful ancillary tools for detecting fumarate hydratase deficient renal cell carcinoma. Hereditary association, which prompt genetic counseling and FH mutational analysis in these patients and their families. We can see microscopy here. The cells exhibit eosinophilic macronucleoli and the perinuclear haloing is seen. It is seen clearly in the inset. Immunohistochemistry, neoplastic cells demonstrate FH negative staining, whereas non-neoplastic cells show granular cytoplasmic staining. It is used as a positive internal control. 2-SC shows diffuse and strong staining in the neoplastic cells. Eosinophilic solid and cystic renal cell carcinoma, GUPS proposal under novel entity. Mostly it's seen in females and less than 10% in tuberosclerosis patients. Solid and cystic voluminous eosinophilic cells and cytoplasmic stippling is seen. It has got a good prognosis and rare cases are aggressive. And IHC CK20 is positive whereas CK7 and 117 are negative. Microscopically, it shows solid or compact acinar growth with cells exhibiting voluminous eosinophilic cytoplasm, and the cells in the solid parts and in the cyst walls are identical. Scattered foamy cells are also seen, histiocytes, and coarse cytoplasmic granules. Stippling is seen in the higher magnification. IHC tumor typically shows CK20 reactivity with negative CK7. Renal cell carcinoma with prominent smooth muscle fibromyomata stroma included in GUPS novel entity. It is variable and no specific clinical features have been identified. It shows two distinct components: prominent smooth muscle stroma, clear cell areas almost identical to clear cell renal cell carcinoma, VHL abnormalities, and TCEB1 mutation. On IHC, it's positive for CK7, CA9 and 10 and high molecular weight cytokeratin. Microscopically, tumor is characterized by nest or papillary formation composed of cells with clear cytoplasm dispersed in fibromuscular stroma. At high magnification, these tumors have abundant apical cytoplasm, usually clear to pale eosinophilic. On immunohistochemistry, CK7 is typically positive in over half of the tumor cells. Next is atrophic kidney-like lesions, included in GUPS provisional entity. It is seen in young adults, no specific clinical features, resembles a renal cortical scar, thyroidization with atrophic cells, follicles with eosinophilic fluid. On IHC, PX8, CK7 are positive, whereas TTF1 and thyroglobulin are negative. Here we can see the tumor-like lesion is composed of thick fibrous capsules surrounding follicular structures. At high magnification, the follicles are lined by flattened cells with cells floating in the lumens. Low-grade oncocytic tumors, that is GUPS provisional entity. Seen in older patients, they are solitary and non-syndromic, low-grade oncocytic and solid, CD117 negative and CK7 positive, diploid, deletion of 19p33 and has got good prognosis. Microscopically, edematous stroma with loosely connected cells that appear stretched out. At high magnification, the cytology is usually bland and monotonous with or without some perinuclear clearing. Eosinophilic vacuolated high-grade oncocytic tumor included under GUPS emerging entity. More commonly seen in females, Raynaud tuberosclerosis patients, typically smaller, mahogany brown, no aggressive behaviors. On IHC, CD117 is positive, CK7 is variable and catapsin is positive. Microscopically, solid growth with frequent and prominent intracytoplasmic vacuoles. The cells in some areas are however mostly oncocytic. Cells have voluminous cytoplasm, enlarged round to oval nuclei with prominent nucleoli. On immunohistochemistry, catapsin K is positive on immunohistochemistry, focal or diffuse in almost all cases. Anaplastic lymphoma kinase rearrangement associated renal cell carcinoma. It is included under GUPS novel entity. Equal gender distribution and so far have not been reported in a syndromic or hereditary setting. Anaplastic lymphoma kinase rearrangement RCCs are solitary, non-infiltrative, solid or solid cystic tumors with white gray to yellow and variegated cut surface. Microscopically, some areas shows papillary and trabecular growth, and solid areas may also be present, and some areas shows tubulocystic growth. On immunohistochemistry, it is ALK immunohistochemical staining is positive in the neoplastic cells, including both in the heterogeneous and metanephric adenoma-like area of the same tumor. Thyroid-like follicular carcinoma of kidney. Thyroid-like follicular carcinoma of kidney is more commonly found in females and has a wide age distribution, and it is usually detected incidentally and typically presents at a low stage. It resembles to the thyroid follicular carcinoma with tightly packed microfollicles punctated by macrofollicles which are filled with inspated colloid-like content. The follicles are lined by a single layer of cuboidal epithelium. Biphasic hyalinizing pseudomatous renal cell carcinoma. It is included under provisional entity. This tumor is composed of gland-like tubular structures embedded in fibrostroma. The nuclei lining the glands are elongated. This is the summary of modifications in the American Joint Committee on Cancer, that is 8th edition, staging of kidney cancer, and comparison of AJCC 7th and 8th edition on kidney cancer tumor, node and metastasis staging. Modification done in the definition of tumor for T3A disease. The word grossly was eliminated from the description of renal vein involvement and muscle containing was changed to segmental veins. And definition of tumor for T3A disease, invasion of pelvic calyceal system was also added. Here we can see tumor in 7th edition it was given tumor grossly extends into the renal vein or its segmental, that is muscle containing branches, or tumor invades perirenal or renal sinus fat but not beyond Gerotta fascia. Here we can see in 8th edition tumor extends into renal vein or its segmental branches or invades the pelvic calyceal system or invades perirenal or renal sinus fat but not beyond Gerotta fascia. Recent updates in bladder cancer. WHO classification 2016 was as follows: urothelial tumors, squamous cell neoplasm, granular neoplasm, urachal carcinoma, neuroendocrine tumors, melanocytic and mesenchymal. Then came the molecular classification of urothelial cancers. Molecular classification of bladder carcinoma is a relevant topic in modern bladder cancer oncology due to its potential to improve oncological outcomes. The available molecular classifications are generally based on transcriptomic profiles generating highly diverse categories with limited correlation. In this diagram, we can see the molecular subtype evolution. It started in 2003, then came up to the present study, and in 2019, a consensus molecular classification of muscle invasive bladder carcinoma was done, which included luminal, which further was classified into papillary, which shows papillary morphology, mutations in FGFR3, KDM6A, non-specified second was non-specified micropapillary variant shows fibroblast infiltrate in stroma, and mutation was seen in ELF3, and third was unstable TP53 and ERCC2. Then stroma rich, a smooth muscle fibroblasts and myofibroblasts were seen. Immune infiltrates were seen in B cells. Basal squamous differentiation, myofibroblast and fibroblast in stroma. Immune infiltrates included CD8 T cells and NK cells. Mutations seen in TP53 and RB1. Then neuroendocrine mutations were seen in TP53 and RB1 gene. This is the diagrammatic presentation. 24% were luminal papillary, 8% were luminal non-specified, 15% luminal unstable, 15% stroma rich, 35% basal or squamous, and 3% were neuroendocrine like. Here we can see mutations seen in FGFR3, KDM6A, in non-specified ELF3, and in the luminal unstable TP53, ERCC2 and TMB, and in basal or squamous TP53 and RB1. In neuroendocrine also TP53 and RB1 gene. And stromal infiltrate in non-specified fibroblasts were seen in stroma rich smooth muscles like smooth muscle fibroblasts and myofibroblasts were seen. In basal or squamous, fibroblasts and myofibroblasts were seen. Histologically, papillary morphology was seen here. In luminal, micropapillary variant was seen, and in the squamous or basal, squamous differentiation was seen. In neuroendocrine, a neuroendocrine differentiation was seen. And it was usually presented in T2 stage, and in luminal non-specified older patients. Basal or squamous most commonly in women, and T3 or T4 stage. Then came the molecular classification of bladder urothelial carcinoma using nanostring based gene expression analysis. The recent introduction of the novel nanostring technology to analyze gene expression provides an alternative for molecular subtyping with the potential advantage of lower cost per sample to analyze and produce accurate gene classifiers with clinical application. Quantitative method based on mRNA counting, and this method can obtain precise and accurate measurements of RNA expression compared to RT-PCR. These are the characteristics of molecular subtypes using nanostring counter analysis. Here they were of three molecular subtypes: luminal, which were positive for GATA3 and KRT20; basal, positive for KRT5, KRT14, and they were negative for GATA3 and KRT20; null or double negative, which were negative for GATA3, KRT20, KRT5, and KRT14. Luminal molecular subtype included conventional urothelial carcinoma and variant histological urothelial carcinomas like micropapillary, nested, plasmacytoid, and other variants. Basal included conventional and other variant histological urothelial carcinomas, and null or double negative were conventional and variant histological urothelial carcinomas like nested and plasmacytoid. Coming to immunotherapy, immunotherapy is treatment that helps the body's immune system fight cancer more effectively. In recent years, several different immunotherapy drugs, all of a type called immune checkpoint inhibitors, have been approved for treating certain patients with locally advanced or metastatic bladder cancer. These drugs work by releasing the brakes on the immune system and allowing immune cells to detect and kill tumor cells. Patients whose bladder cancers respond to immune checkpoint inhibitors tend to maintain those responses for long periods. However, only a small number of patients respond to immune checkpoint inhibitors. The PD-L1 protein, for example, has been studied as a biomarker for response to treatment with immune checkpoint inhibitors. This is the summary of modifications in the American Joint Committee on Cancer 8th edition staging of urinary bladder cancer and comparison of American Joint Committee on Cancer 7th and 8th editions on urinary bladder cancer tumor node metastasis staging. Modification in the definition of lymph node. Perivesical lymph node involvement is classified now as N1, and metastasis M1 is subdivided into M1A and M1B. M1A refers to a non-regional lymph node only. M1B refers to non-lymph node distant metastasis. AJCC prognostic stage group. Stage 3 subdivided into 3A and 3B. Stage 4 is subdivided into 4A and 4B. Recent advances in prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is the most frequent malignant tumor in the male population worldwide. Identification of biomarkers became a major focus in prostate cancer in order to improve outcomes and select potentially responsive patients. Prostate cancer grading. The Gleason scoring system is the most common prostate cancer grading system used. Gleason grade was proposed in 1974 by Donald Gleason and after several fundamental modifications remains one of the most powerful prognostic factors in prostate cancer. The Gleason grading system was updated in 2019 following IUPS Consensus Conference and GUPS White Paper. Gleason scores of 5 or lower are not used. The lowest Gleason score is 6, which is a low-grade cancer. A Gleason score of 7 is a medium-grade cancer, and a score of 8, 9 or 10 is a high-grade cancer. In the new system, tumors with a Gleason score of 6 or less are designated as a grade 1, those with 7 as grade 2, those with the Gleason score 7 as grade 3, those with 8 with any combination as grade 4, and those with 9 and 10 as grade 5. Two patterns of prostate cancer seem to have additional prognostic significance, that is cribriform pattern and intraductal carcinoma. The cribriform pattern is defined as a continuous proliferation of cells with intermingled lumina and is assigned a Gleason's grade 4 or 5 if associated with comedonecrosis. We can see Gleason's grade 2 with single small cribriform gland on hematoxylin and eosin, and Gleason's score 7, that is grade group 3 with small to medium cribriform Gleason pattern 4 glands. The presence of a cribriform pattern in a tumor has been associated with adverse pathologic parameters and earlier PSA recurrence. Additionally, it has been shown that prostate carcinoma assigned as Gleason score 7 without a cribriform pattern on biopsy has a similar prognosis with a tumor assigned as Gleason score 6, giving the opportunity for active surveillance to these patients. According to the most recent guidelines, the presence and significance of a cribriform pattern, although already considered in grading, should be commented upon in biopsies and prostatectomy specimens. This is what is given in the recent Gleason's grading score system. Report the presence or absence of cribriform glands in biopsy and radical prostatectomy specimen with Gleason pattern 4 carcinoma. Intraductal carcinoma is defined as an intraacinar or intraductal neoplastic proliferation that has some features of high-grade prostatic intraepithelial neoplasia but exhibits much greater architectural or cytological atypia. Histologically, IDC is characterized by a solid, dense cribriform pattern or a loose cribriform micropapillary pattern with either marked nuclear atypia or comedonecrosis. Marked nuclear atypia is nuclear size 6 times the size of the normal cells. However, the criteria of nuclear size has been questioned recently and has been replaced by marked pleomorphism or nucleomegaly. This is the intraductal carcinoma with the dense cribriform glands on biopsy. High molecular weight cytokeratin and P663 verify the presence of basal cell layer. IDC is usually accompanied by an invasive high-grade adenocarcinoma. Even though cases with low-grade carcinoma or even absence of invasive carcinoma have been described in both prostate biopsies and prostatectomies. It is given as report the presence of IDC in biopsy and radical prostatectomy specimens. Use criteria based on dense cribriform glands and solid nest or marked pleomorphism or necrosis. Dense cribriform glands are defined more than 50% of the gland composed of epithelium relative to luminal spaces where the ratio is approximately equal. It is prudent to be conservative and diagnose the lesion as not meeting full criteria for IDC. When IDC is identified on prostate biopsy without concomitant invasive adenocarcinoma, add a comment stating that IDC is usually associated with high-grade prostate cancer. Perform IHC for basal cell markers when the biopsy shows Gleason score of 6 and cribriform glands that include a differential diagnosis of IDC versus Gleason pattern 4 cancer. It is not necessary to perform basal cell IHC on needle biopsy and radical prostatectomy to identify IDC if the results of the stains would not change the overall highest Gleason score or grade for the case. Do not include IDC in determining the final Gleason score on biopsy or radical prostatectomy. This is the update on grade groups. Grade groups is recommended as the terminology for reporting in both needle biopsy and radical prostatectomy specimen. Retain Gleason score as 8 as a grade group 4. Retain Gleason score 9 along with Gleason score of 5 plus 4 and 10 in grade group 5. There are some differences between the recommendations between ISUP and GUPS. For example, intraductal carcinoma of prostate and invasive cribriform prostate carcinoma are associated with worst outcomes. The ISUP and GUPS concur with reporting of pure IDC component, recommending that pure isolated IDC should not be graded and IHC should be performed in cases when no associated invasive prostate carcinoma component is seen. One more variant is aggressive variant of prostate carcinoma. Prostate carcinoma may evolve into an androgen receptor independent phenotype characterized by a rapidly progressive disease course including secondary deposits in visceral sites. It shows low or absent androgen receptor expression and is associated with low serum levels of prostate specific antigen. This is the microscopy showing solid sheets of cells devoid of pleomorphism with round and enlarged nuclei with prominent nucleoli and slightly basophilic cytoplasm. Tissue biomarkers in predicting upgrading or significant disease in prostate cancer. Biomarkers used are PTEN. PTEN loss is associated with adverse oncological outcomes and its clinical impact is by itself or in combination with other biomarker. It helps in distinguishing indolent tumors from those likely to progress. APC, RASSF1, TBX15 methylation. DNA methylation biomarkers associated with cribriform architecture and IDC. Detection of DNA methylation based biomarkers act as an indicators of cribriform or IDC pattern in biopsy tissue samples. SCH-LAP1, their long non-coding RNA overexpressed in 25% of prostate carcinomas and their high expression significantly correlates with metastatic progression of prostate carcinomas. BRCA2. Uh, BRCA2 mutant prostate carcinoma harbor increased genomic instability and a mutational profile similar to metastatic rather than localized disease. BRCA2 mutant prostate carcinoma are uniquely aggressive. Often they occur in young men, have higher rates of lymph node and distant metastasis, and increased mortality, justifying aggressive initial treatment. Coming to molecular markers and immunotherapy, a defective DNA repair system can increase the frequency of DNA mutations. This is a very important observation in the development of the anti-tumor immune response. Mutations in the BRCA2 gene have been observed in melanoma patients with a better response to anti-PD-1, programmed cell death 1 ligand 1 therapy. Such findings provide support to the potential use of the mutation status in DNA repair genes in order to predict the response to immunotherapy in aggressive prostate cancer. Immune checkpoint inhibitors have been approved in advanced solid tumors harboring genetic defects in DNA mismatch repair, including prostate carcinomas. The detection of defect in DNA mismatch repair using either immunohistochemistry or molecular methods is therefore needed in patients with advanced castration-resistant prostate carcinoma who are being considered for immunotherapy. However, human prostate carcinoma specimens are mostly immunologically cold tumors and do not respond well to immunotherapy due to their complex immune evasion mechanisms. These are the updates in prostate cancer staging. Summary of modifications in the American Joint Committee on Cancer, 8th edition staging of prostate cancer in comparison of AJCC 7th and 8th editions on prostate cancer. Modifications are definition of tumor. Pathologically organ-confined disease is considered T2 and no longer subclassified by extent of involvement or laterality. Histologic grade. The Gleason score 2014 criteria and the grade group should both be reported. AJCC prognostic stage group. Stage 3 includes select organ confined disease tumors based on PSA, Gleason's grade or group status. Here we can see organ is confined and it was divided into 2A, B, C, but here only organ is confined. Coming to recent update in testicular cancer. Testicular tumors are incredibly diverse and one of the most challenging areas in surgical pathology. Because of the rarity and overlapping features with numerous entities occurring in the testes and paratestes, these tumors pose a diagnostic challenge even to the most experienced general pathologist. This is the workup done for any testicular or prostate cancer. Elevated PSA if it is positive or negative. If it is positive, localized disease, that is low risk, intermediate or high risk, then staging should be done, and advanced or metastatic disease. The germ cell tumors are divided into two major groups: tumors derived from germ cell neoplasia in situ and those unrelated to germ cell neoplasia in situ. The germ cell neoplasia in situ associated tumors include seminomatous and non-seminomatous germ cell tumors, which constitute a heterogeneous group of tumors. Non-germ cell neoplasia in situ associated tumors include prepubertal type teratoma, prepubertal yolk sac tumor, mixed prepubertal type teratoma, yolk sac tumor, and spermatocytic seminoma. These are the modifications in the American Joint Committee on Cancer, 8th edition and 9th edition comparison. In pure seminoma, T1 is subclassified as T1A and T1B according to 3 cm size. Cutoff Epididymal invasion is considered T2 rather than T1. Here we can see previously only T1 was given, but now it is subdivided into T1A and T1B. Less than 3 centimeters are 1A and more than 3 centimeters are 1B. And metastasis, discontinuous involvement of the spermatic cord represents M1 disease. Here we can see recent updates on penile cancer. Penile cancer is a rare disease with an age standardized incidence of 0.8 per 1 lakh males and mortality of 0.3 worldwide in 2020. The most recent 8th edition of TNM staging classification of urologic cancers made important changes to the penile cancer staging. T3 penile lesion does not have to have urethral involvement exclusively, as now tumors invading the corpus cavernosum are also staged as T3 disease. Also important to prognosis are the histologic variations of penile tumors. That is verrucous carcinoma. Here we can see pseudo hyperplastic carcinoma and carcinoma cuniculatum have the best prognosis. Warty and papillary carcinoma as well as not otherwise specified are of intermediate prognosis. Basaloid and sarcomatoid carcinomas have the worst prognosis. Caveolin 1. The membrane protein caveolin 1 gained attraction in carcinogenesis because it was shown to be overexpressed or mutated in numerous solid human tumors. As main structural component of specialized cholesterol and sphingolipids enriched microdomains of the plasma membrane, term caveolae, CAV1 regulates multiple cell signaling pathways and thus regulating cancer-associated processes ranging from cellular transformation, tumor growth and angiogenesis, invasion and metastasis to multi-drug resistant cells. Epithelial stromal CAV1 distributions of CAV1 in penile carcinoma. CAV1 immunostaining was performed in order to investigate CAV1 expression levels as well as epithelial stromal CAV1 distributions in penile carcinoma specimen according to P16 and P53 status. CAV1 was expressed in all cancerous penile tissue in variable amounts, predominantly localized in the cell membrane and cytoplasm. In P16 positive tumors that generally displayed a less differentiated phenotype, CAV1 expression was not present, or rather low in malignant epithelial cells. Here we can see in P16 CAV1 shows positivity. This is the summary of modifications in the American Joint Committee on Cancer 8th edition staging of penile cancer and comparison of AJCC 7th and 8th editions on penile cancer tumor, node and metastasis staging. In the definition of tumor, TA definition is now broadened to include non-invasive localized squamous carcinoma. Here we can see T1. It was only classified as subepithelial connective tissue invasions. Now glans, foreskin, shaft invasion is also considered. All sites with or without LVI or is not high grade, and T1A and 1B have been separated by an additional prognostic indicator, that is presence or absence of PNI. T1A and 1B are described by the site where they occur on the penis and are designated glans, foreskin or shaft. Anatomic layers invaded are described in the 3 locations. T2 definition includes corpus spongiosum invasion, and T3 definition now involves corpora cavernosa invasion. We can see here T3. It involves corpora cavernous, and before it was only tumor invades the urethra. And histologic grade, the three-tiered WHO or International Society of Urological Pathology grading system has been adopted. Any proportion of anaplastic cells is sufficient to categorize a tumor as grade 3. PN1 is defined as less than 2 unilateral inguinal metastasis, and PN2 is defined as more than 3 unilateral inguinal metastasis or bilateral metastasis. These are my references. Thank you.